We can all breathe just a little bit easier in a must-win game. The Eagles were down 19-3 in the second quarter. Well, they rallied back by outscoring the Giants 22-3 over the final 20 minutes of the football game to eke out a 25-22 victory over New York to improve to 5-6 on the season. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. I'm Chris McPherson alongside former Eagles linebacker Ike Reese. And yes, the Eagles had to have this game, and they found a way, despite an undermanned defense, despite not scoring in the first quarter once again, to beat a Giants team that was full of confidence and believing they were going to come into the link and end the Eagles season.
I got to tell you, Chris, right off the bat, Doug has been here for a little over 2.5 years, and I know they're coming off winning the Super Bowl, but I can't think of 4 or 5 more wins that he's had during his time here that's been more impressive than today's victory. You talked about it being a must-win game. We obviously know that, getting down 19-3 to this Giants team and then finding a way to battle back in this game. Really impressed with the perseverance of this team, the fact that they didn't give up, the will to fight and not let this season go down just yet. So just an impressive win. Obviously, we'll dive through the numbers. We'll dive through the play. There's obviously things to improve upon, but I'm talking about a gritty win from a football team that really hasn't had a lot of bright moments this season. They found a way to get to 5-6 in a game that they had to have at home. Again, I can't overstate this, down 19-3. I didn't know when they were down 19-3. I was hoping, but I wasn't sure they had it in them to come back and win this game. And just an impressive win, a little something to build off of, get some momentum going into next week's big game against Washington. Just a gritty, tough win. I think one of the best wins under Doug's coaching tenure.
It's like because you haven't seen too many wins like this during Doug's era. Okay, last season when the Eagles were steamrolling opponents on the way to the Super Bowl, they didn't have a lot of close contests like this. So we look at the box score here. Again, the Eagles coming out with a 25-22 victory. The time of possession really took place in the second half of the ball game as the Eagles relied on the ground game. And the Eagles, believe it or not, outgaining the Giants in ground yards by a margin of 127-126, which if you watched the first half and saw Saquon Barkley and the way he was running the football, especially after he scored that 51-yard touchdown, you didn't think that that was going to happen. But a lot of eerie similarities between the Week 3 Eagles-Giants game at the Link a year ago to this one here, and the biggest one for me is Jake Elliott coming on at the end with the franchise record 61-yard field goal to get the Eagles over the hump, and they really took off from that point on. Today, once again, Jake Elliott coming through in the clutch, a 43-yard field goal with only 22 seconds left. Season on the line once again, and the Eagles, we don't know what this will mean down the road, but the biggest thing is the Eagles are in 5-6. They have Washington next Monday night in prime time, and they are right where they need to be. Not where they want to be, but where they need to be at this point with the NFC East still within reach. They are just one game out of first place. Washington tied with Dallas for first place with a 6-5 record. The Eagles are right in the hunt, and they have Washington and Dallas over the next 2 weeks. But like you said, Ike, a lot of things for this team to build upon. But the biggest thing tonight is that they survived. That was the biggest thing, especially after being down 19-3.
Yeah, keeping your season alive. I mean, that's what it's all about. They found themselves in this position where basically over the last month or so of the season, they're going to be in playoff form. I mean, because they need just about every win they can get to sort of find themselves in that final weekend with an opportunity to play in the postseason this season. So the great thing is their next game is at home as well against another divisional opponent that they'll probably be favored against, a game they should get national TV, primetime, Monday Night Football, certainly something to build off of. And that's really how they have to look at this thing. They have to look at the rest of their schedule as it's a week-to-week season. Find a way to keep your season alive. Things around you are going to fall into place. The one fortunate thing we have going for us this year is that no one is running away in this division, which is going to keep a lot of the teams in the hunt. And so the Eagles, although they aren't playing at a level, they certainly have enough time to sort of get themselves to that level as long as they keep fixing the little things. I look at that graphic there, Chris, and the first thing that stood out to me was 0 turnovers. 0 turnovers. They came into this game +9 in the turnover differential. There's no way you can survive in this league.
No.
They're fortunate to be at 4-6 with that type of turnover differential, whereas they were 4th in the league at a +11, I believe, last year, taking care of the football. Although they got the one big interception from Malcolm right before the half, the big key there to me was they took care of the ball on the offensive side of the ball, didn't give the Giants any short fields, any easy points, and that allowed them to claw their way back into this game. It wasn't pretty, but when they finally got their rhythm going there and they were able to find their way with a W in the second half.
You make a great point about style when it comes to winning games in the league. Like last week, the Eagles were throttled by the Saints. It doesn't matter.
It's only one loss.
It's one loss in the grand scheme of things. And they knew after that game they were going to still be in the mix. The key was not to allow that loss to hang over their heads. And maybe you could say it did a little bit there in the first half or so. But the Eagles were able to get a spark there late in the second quarter. And like you said, it was just getting back to fundamentals, making sure you have sound tackling, getting off the field on third down on defense, and then going to the ground game and sustaining drives on offense. A lot of key third down conversion in this football game. A lot of the elements that made the 2017 offense special, we saw once again here today. So again, style points don't matter when it comes to the victory. The biggest thing is the Eagles get the victory by a score of 25-22, and then next week they will play Washington in a Monday night thriller with pretty much everything on the line for both teams, because Washington lost its starting quarterback. They were defeated by the Cowboys on Thanksgiving night, so they're going to be reeling and needing a chance to bounce back. So two teams, and what better way than to handle your division business by having a primetime showcase like they're going to have on Monday night. But a lot more to unpack here on the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. We're going to hear from head coach Doug Pederson and quarterback Carson Wentz. We'll also have film breakdown courtesy of Fran Duffy and Greg Cosell. But first, we're going to send it over to Lincoln Financial Field and welcome in Eagles insider Dave Spadera and Amy Campbell. And now, Dave, I'm sure you've had a chance to catch your breath, but one of the takeaways for me from today is looking at the offensive side of the ball. Carson Wentz and the offense getting the job done in the fourth quarter, when throughout the course of the season, the team has been criticized for not coming up big in clutch situations.
Well, it's because they haven't come up big in clutch situations, so the criticism was just, and I thought you mentioned it correctly just a little bit ago, Chris, the running game, the Eagles really leaned on it, and Josh Adams, Corey Clement made it happen. Good screen game, efficiency offensively, really the key for the Eagles, red zone efficiency as well. And I mean, what a difference between half one and half two. Everything changed in this football game on the Malcolm Jenkins red zone interception. Before that, the Eagles go down and score the touchdown, then Jenkins has the interception, and then the Eagles take momentum into the second half, and I thought the offense did a terrific job controlling the clock, controlling the line of scrimmage, and moving the football.
Amy, Dave talked about the offense, and they certainly finally got it together in that second half. I thought the Eagles' defense played outstanding in the second half as well as keeping them in the game in the first half. Just your thoughts on Jim Schwartz and the scheme and things he were able to come up with, considering he was shorthanded when you look at this secondary.
Yeah, Ike, you and I are already very much on the same page there. That was kind of my big note there, a tale of two halves. But the last few games we've seen kind of the opposite effect with the Eagles defense, really keeping it tight in the first three quarters and then just not able to hang on until the end, allowing a lot of points kind of as games unwind. And you saw, again, that injury bug continues to hit the secondary, but it was that front seven that was really able to get pressure, stop the run, take Eli Manning down. That, to me, was huge, that the defense continued to give the offense a chance while the offense was kind of working out the kinks and able to get the ground game going.
Dave, Amy touched on some of the decisions there from Coach Pederson and the staff there, but late in the game, Doug Pederson decides to go for it on the fourth down, and Carson Wentz comes up big with the throw to Nelson Aguilar over the middle. What did it mean for Coach Pederson to go for it in that situation when he was a little more conservative leading up to that point in the contest?
Yeah, I mean, you're standing there, you're kind of watching, you're going, well, if you punt it and you punt it into the end zone, you have a net of 22 yards, and the Giants still have a couple minutes left. I think it was a decision you had to make, very difficult decision, short passing game, safe route by Nelson Aguilar, middle of the field. Really, the Eagles had some success there for most of the day. Offensive line gave Carson some time. He delivered to Nelson on time. I think it's a call you had to make. I really didn't think about not going for it there. Yeah. I mean, right?
Right. Well, in that situation especially, and we talked about this before the game, that I wanted to see Doug Pederson being aggressive again. And of course, we can't compare last year to this year because it's not the same personnel, it's not the same team. But one of the things that gave this team that juice, gave this atmosphere that juice, was that aggressive mentality. The fans love it, the players love it. And so to see that going for the 2-point conversions, going for it on 4th and 1, of course it helps when it works. But just to see that, I think, was a big part of just the juice and the momentum, that swagger that you want to see from a team like this.
Hey, Amy, looking at that offensive side of the ball, you know, everyone's screaming about running the football, committing to the running game. I thought Doug did an excellent job of that today. Talk about Josh Adams' performance today, as well as Corey Clement sort of being involved in the offense also. I thought that was a huge spark for them.
Yeah, you saw, we've kind of been waiting to see what's going to happen with Josh Adams all season, a guy who makes the team, who shows a lot of potential and continues to show that the coaches can trust him. Every situation that he's been given an opportunity, he's taken advantage of it, and he continued to do that today, just got hotter and hotter, 22 carries. I'm going to guess that's the most that he's had in his career. I can't confirm that, but
it is.
Yeah, so there you go, 22 carries, a career high for him here with the Eagles, and his second touchdown of his career. And Corey Clement, too, kind of giving them a couple of those big plays. Clement had a couple of the big runs, so giving them the balance there, and just Adams continuing to slowly help move the chains.
Yeah, and Adams, I think the ability to get outside, to bounce it outside, really, he is a big play running back, was a big play running back at Notre Dame, has continued to be one here. And what we saw today that we hadn't really seen was the workhorse, 22 carries, good ball security, late game, tough yards between the tackles, setting up Jake Elliott.
Couple of nice stiff arms there.
Yeah, for what he said was just a routine into the wind, kind of reminiscent of last year's kick, the 61-yarder, but clearly Josh Adams delivering in the clutch. And Corey Clement, who has struggled this year to get his game going, found it today.
Dave and Amy, thank you so much. We can't wait to read the On the Inside column and listen to the Eagles Live podcast after the game later on this evening. Thanks again, guys. And Dave brought up a great point there with Josh Adams, that you trusted him in the clutch. In those pivotal moments when you're trying to set up your field position, you line up the kick for Jake Elliott. They trusted Adams to carry the ball and not to worry about losing it with the season on the line.
Yeah, and I think the key word there is trust. And it's not easy when you're looking at a guy who's undrafted and you don't know how much to give him. You want to give him enough so that you certainly are getting positive production out of him. But at the same time, in the back of every coach's mind is that he's still a rookie. And you kind of are a little reluctant to feed him a whole lot early in the season. But I think Josh Adams has earned the extra touches that Doug has given him. And the fact that you bring up the word trust, they are trusting him now to give him a little bit more. And to key to playing running back in this league isn't just about running the football. It's also how do you contribute in the passing game? How do you contribute in the passing protection game? Blitz pickup, things of that nature. So it's good to see that Josh Adams has been rewarded for his hard work and his positive play over the past few weeks. And I guarantee you, he'll continue to get touches. As long as he's continuing to be to give you positive results, they'll give him the football.
Don't forget, he had a 51-yard touchdown run.
Called back there
in the first quarter. So, Ike, what are your 3 big takeaways from the Eagles' 25-22 win over the Giants?
Well, I got to start. My biggest concern coming into this game was the defense and how would they perform considering what they were riddled with injuries with in the back 7 of this defense. I thought Jim Schwartz, they held down the fort in the first half. Eli and that offense, they set an NFL record. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it was 340-something yards, I believe, in the first half of total offense. That's almost unheard of. But look, the Giants offense finished with just over 400 yards. So you look at what this defense did in the second half, only giving up 3 points, really clamped down on that Giants offense and kept the big play off of them. And so you want to give the defense a lot of credit for what they were able to do. And then I look at what the offense was able to do in the second half from a running standpoint, really committing to the running game in the second half. And then Carson Wentz in the fourth quarter. So much senseless talk about whether or not he's a clutch performer, whether or not he can win big games. This guy is the franchise quarterback for this team, and he will continue to be that for well over a decade. He didn't need to prove anything to me, but I hope he answered a lot of questions that people had about him today with that fourth quarter performance, leading them down to another game-winning win with the field goal kick by Jake Elliott.
Well, you bring up Carson Wentz. In his first half numbers here, He was 10 of 12 in the first half, 83.3% completion percentage for 127 yards with a touchdown, 138.5 passer rating. And he finished, you see his final numbers on the day, 236 yards, over 71% completion percentage. You know, it was just very efficient in the first half. The thing was, early on, the defense struggled mightily, okay? 4 drives, 4 scoring drives for the Giants to start off the game, the touchdown, 2 field goals, and another touchdown. It wasn't until the 5th drive when Malcolm Jenkins got the interception where the defense was able to get off the field. But with that being said, though, Carson Wentz, you almost felt like had pressure on his shoulders to carry the offense, knowing how short-handed the defense was, that the Eagles were almost going to have to go out and score on every single possession. And after the slow start, you thought it was going to be insurmountable, but Carson Wentz just kept plugging away. Doug Pederson, Mike Rowe give them credit for making sure they stuck with the run game, even though they were down at one point by 16 and by 8 in the second half. But the big thing there is Carson Wentz, a very efficient performance in helping not only get the Eagles back in scoring position to have a chance to win the game, but coming through and getting the victory.
Yeah, and I think the most impressive thing he did today was not press. And you talked about the pressure coming into this game, and I'm sure he felt it from the outside or even from the inside. When your defense is riddled with injuries the way they have been, and after giving up 48 points to the Saints, I mean, he's probably thinking what we're all thinking, is that the offense is going to have to put some points on the board and able for them to, in order for them to win today. So as a player of his magnitude, you have to fight against that temptation to want to go out there and make a big play every time you get the football. And I thought in the first half, he didn't have some things go his way, moved the ball at times, but they seemed to stall on third downs from time to time. But the key thing for me is that he didn't force any throws. He didn't have any turnovers in the game, and eventually he was able to get some things going with his receivers in the second half. So, you know, like I say, it's not easy when you're the quarterback and everyone's looking for you for all the answers and to carry the load. You almost feel pressure to go out there and score every time you get the ball. I thought he got help on the offensive side of the ball today, which relieved some of that pressure. And most of the help came from his offensive line. I thought he had pass protection back there. There were times he held onto the ball. Maybe it's because no one was open, but it wasn't a whole lot of pressure on him, even though he was sacked late in the game a couple times. I thought through the first few quarters, he had plenty of time back there. And then we're watching Corey Clement here. We talked about Josh Adams. That was huge for Carson today. He was able to turn around, give the ball to those running backs, and let them alleviate some of that pressure that I'm sure he felt coming into the game.
It is great seeing that burst from Corey Clement. Yeah. It has just not been there all season, and I don't know if it was the quad injury he suffered at the beginning of the year, it just lingered too long. Clement kept saying it was 100% but by the reps he was getting on the field, you could tell that something wasn't right. Yeah. And what's great with, and we see Corey Clement here the second year back, and it's great that last year was a rookie free agent running back who helped the Eagles on the way to the Super Bowl. It's Adams this year, but you look at the numbers there from Clement there, 45 rushing yards, 31 receiving. That's what he did so well, is he helped you on third down and in the pass game. And without a Jay Ajayi, you need more of a sustaining back, and Josh Adams proved that he could be that guy, getting 22 carries today. And the big thing is a week ago, look, Adams was very productive when he got his carries. Problem is, when you're down the way they were to the Saints, you only had 7 carries.
Running the ball.
You're not running the ball at that point. But to that being said, with the Eagles down this week 19-3, okay, last week the MO against the Saints was you got pass again in position. The Eagles just don't have the explosive playmakers to make up points in a hurry. So they have to sustain drives. Yeah. They have to move the chains on an intermediate level. And I thought you saw a lot more production. Obviously, Zach Ertz got his, and he always plays well against the Giants. But you saw Alshon Jeffrey getting more involved because he'd been quiet the last few weeks. And we saw a couple of plays from Dallas Goedert today, who had only 1 target in the 3 games leading into this, and that was or 1 catch, I should say. But it was a touchdown against Jacksonville. Other than that, he's been targeted very minimally ever since they acquired Golden Tate because they're trying to work him into the offense. I thought Mike Rowe and Doug Pederson did a better job of getting those guys and finding touches for Golden Tate, getting those guys more involved today. Because when you look at the Giants offense, obviously you're talking about Saquon and Odell Beckham, but tight end Rhett Ellison was making big plays. They were getting contributions from other guys. Wayne Gallman was making some key rushes for them in the second half. For the Eagles, you need other guys outside of just Zach Ertz to step up for you today, and I thought some of the other role players did in a big way.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people out there want to see Golden Tate get the ball a lot more, but you have to realize this offense is predicated on spreading the football around. I mean, that's when they're their most dangerous. Other than Zach Ertz, the receivers aren't going to get those type of targets. So I like seeing the fact that Golden Tate was able to get some touches. I love the fact that he's back there returning punts. And when you spread the ball around in this offense, it makes you that much more difficult to defend. And when you add the running game aspect to it as well, you can become an efficient offense. I thought they got to that a little bit more in the second half as opposed to the first half. And hopefully it's something they can build upon, because next week's defense is a lot better. Yes. That Redskins defense is a lot better than the Giants. So we're starting to see some positive things. Just they need to continue to build upon it.
All right, so Josh Adams, a touchdown, his first career touchdown last week against the Saints, gets another touchdown today and adds a 2-point conversion for good measure. Dave Spadaro caught up with him on the field after the win.
Field now with running back Josh Adams. Well, your first touchdown at Lincoln Financial Field. Growing up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, how did it feel?
It felt great, man. It feels good to be home. Definitely a blessing, a dream come true.
All right, tell me about the running attack and what changed in the second half for this offense.
We just tried to stay aggressive. We tried to dictate the tempo to them, and we just trusted in what we were doing. The big guys up front did an incredible job, and we leaned on them the second half.
How big was this win, Josh?
It was great. It's definitely big. We're planning on using it for the weeks to come.
All right, Josh Adams, Eagles rookie running back from Council Rock South High School.
I love the 2-1-5 that he flashes in the end zone after he scores. And what's interesting for young guys like Josh Adams is you come to a team that's coming off a Super Bowl win, okay? So you kind of almost think that that aura is going to linger and permeate throughout the locker room, but it's really the guys who are on the field now who have to continue that culture to make sure that that standard is maintained. And that can be difficult for someone who, not just coming as a rookie, but a rookie free agent who was just battling to make the team. Adams wasn't on the team at the start of the regular season. Right. He was on the practice squad. So for now, for him to come in and contribute in a big way shows his maturity and shows that Deuce Staley has done a great job of cultivating another find here. Again, last year, Corey Clement as a rookie free agent running back. This year, it's Adams.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing is that the offensive line did a great job of blocking today. I mean, these running backs are going to have success if the guys up front are putting a hat on a hat and moving bodies and giving them some running lanes to sort of run the ball through. I like our young running backs that we have, but I also know that there are limitations that comes along with them. And so these aren't the type of backs that can make something out of nothing like a Saquon Barkley when there are no holes there. You give these guys a little bit of daylight, they'll get you some positive yards. And I thought the offensive line, they got stronger as the game went on. I even saw Brandon Brooks at one point sort of motioning to the sideline to Doug saying, keep running it, when they got the touchdown to go ahead finally, 22-19, I believe it was, when they finally went ahead, 20-19. So the offensive line, you could tell they were starting to pick up the energy from the running game. And when those big bodies start laying on you, man, it wears the defense down. 27 rushing attempts from the running backs. It's been a long time since the Eagles have had that many rushing attempts from two backs, and 22 of them coming from Josh Adams. I know what the Giants were thinking on that side of the football. They weren't prepared to face that type of a run game today because the Eagles just hadn't really shown that they had the ability to run the ball the way they did today. But I was happy to see that even when they got down 19-3, it wasn't like it was last week where you say we got to play catch-up football and try to score as quickly as possible. Doug showed confidence that defense could do enough to give them time to get back in the game.
That's a good point.
And I think he also realized that part of the offense's job today was to help their defense out. The defense is undermanned. And, you got guys playing in the secondary other than Malcolm Jenkins that I really never heard of a month or so ago. So we were going to need to start to win the time of possession. Giants kind of won that in the first half, but in the second half, the Eagles clearly came out and dominated the football. I don't know what happened to Saquon Barkley in the second half.
He was on the sidelines there early in the third quarter. Wayne Gallman was the one who was handling the rock there in those early drives. So
I saw at one point in the late in the fourth quarter, he had 2 rushes. In the second half, he'd only carried the ball twice.
You wonder if they were trying to save him for a late game push or something along those lines, but I'm sure Pat Shurmur is going to have to address that. Ike, what was your turning point in this game as the Eagles came back from a 19-3 deficit to get this 25-22 win?
Oh, man, it seems small, but it was huge.
All right, actually what we're going to do is we're going to send it back over to the link. The victorious head coach, Doug Pederson, standing by.
I think they called a timeout there. Did you change your initial play call? What did you see, and was it run perfectly?
No, we. Gosh, I mean, at that point, I was going to win the game, and I had a lot of confidence in the play call, confidence in our guys. It was a man zone. They played zone on the play, and Nelly popped right over the ball. So it was well executed by us, and kept with the same call even through the timeout.
On that final drive, you were able to bleed off like 5 minutes of clock. Is that the idea when the drive started, or in that situation, you just want to score, and then if the drive kind of happens that way, then great?
In that situation, we'd love to finish with points, and obviously no time on the clock is kind of the thought process there. I thought, on the sideline, great communication. Players offensively execute, offensive line, great job today. And just making plays in that drive to get us down to that kick.
Back to that fourth down completion to Nelly, it looked like that the mesh play you guys have had so much success with. What do you like about that concept in such a big spot there?
Yeah, I mean, we love it when teams play man. I believe the Giants ran it today and hit it for a third down conversion. It's a good play. It's a man zone play. It's something that's been in our offense for since I've been here. And guys know exactly what to do. It's well executed, and great job by Carson hanging in there in the pocket and delivering that ball.
Okay, what do you think this does for the team's confidence? You guys were kind of reeling a little bit, but to get this big win in the division, how does that?
It boosts the confidence. Guys are excited. I mean, they're it's been a couple weeks since we've felt this type of emotion. So they're jazzed. I mean, it's a great win against obviously a hot, really good opponent that is real dangerous on offense. And so for our defense to hang in there in the second half and do the things they did, get them off the field, and then offensively, get ourselves in a position to win the game, it's just a great boost for the entire team.
You've been asking your playmakers to make plays. Malcolm Jenkins made a big play, and it seemed to start something at that point. What did you see on that play? How big a play is that for your team from that guy? And what did you see defensively going forward?
Yeah, Malcolm's a great leader, and one of the things that I've talked to our leaders on the football team and just challenge them. We just got to find a way to make plays, and in big situations. And I think you saw it from time to time today, and that was one of them. That really sparked, I think, the defense going into the second half, and then obviously the offense. But he made that big play. Alshon made a big play at the end of the game, to extend the drive. And, Josh Adams, even though he's a young player, he did some nice things. But our veteran players really stepped up today, and the D-line was able to put pressure on, Eli, get some sacks there. Our offensive line, a veteran group, really did a nice job. So playmakers did a nice job today.
What made you use the ground game more today?
I just think that sometimes you get into the game, the offensive line is really they've played well. I mean, really the entire season. That's been one of the consistent bright spots on offense, and I just knew going into this game that we were going to have to kind of control the ball a little bit. I just wanted to help out some of those young guys on defense, quite frankly, and our guys really rose to the occasion. They wanted the ball in the second half. They were coming to me and keep running. Keep running. They wanted it, on their backs, and so they did a really nice job, and it was able to, and it helps your quarterback too. Being able to throw the ball down the field when we could.
As you went on the field for the field goal, Lane Johnson came off the field. You guys had a little moment there, like Lane said, "Hey, that's the way we're supposed to do this." You kind of gave him one of those looks. What did you say to him at that point, Doug?
I just told him that first of all, I was proud of the guys, proud of him for what he's kind of battled through, and just said, hey, how good does that feel, and he was excited. He played a great game today, and you know, I think the sideline was jazzed. You know, obviously after that kick, and you know, maybe that's the spark we need.
As far as those young guys on defense you were talking about, really improved in the second half after giving up a ton of yards in the first half. What do you think the difference was? Just that momentum shift from Mountain?
I think that's part of it. I think our defensive line really rose to the occasion in the second half, got pressure on the quarterback, you know, forced a couple of quicker throws. And, you know, just a lot of credit. I mean, they hung tough. They battled, and you know, nothing's easy, nothing's pretty. You just have to fight and scratch and get the job done, and they did that today, and proud of those guys.
Carson gets a win. Carson gets a win after his worst outing as a professional and a fourth quarter comeback. What does that do for him in the big picture as far as his development, his confidence, and how he stands with his team?
I mean, I think in his, you know, it doesn't change the way the guys view him. I mean, he's still one of the leaders of this football team, and you know, leads the offense obviously. But I think for him to have been through this, to you know, to be down, I think we were down 19-3, you know, and to come back the entire game and just stay patient and really allow things to unfold for him. I think it was a tremendous step forward, and proud of him and the way he handled a lot of the situations today and how he managed the run game and made some big throws for us. Again, took a couple hits, but you know, that's playing quarterback in the NFL, and that's a great step forward for him, and really proud of him and his performance, and he'll just get better and better each time out.
In the second half, what did the defense show you?
They just showed a toughness that you know, that they weren't going to. They were going to fight for 60 minutes, and that was the message at halftime. You know, you had 30 minutes left to go, and you know, just that they were just going to hang tough. I mean, guys, great communication in the secondary. You know, the D-line, I think, really did a nice job with the run game in the second half, and forcing them to put the ball in the air some, and it was just a overall great team effort on defense today.
The last couple of weeks you had, you know, leaders questioning kind of accountability and effort. Going into this game, did you have a sense of how the team was going to respond, or were you kind of waiting to see how it would play out?
We had a great meeting last night at the hotel. Guys were energized there, and it really spilled over to the dressing room, you know, this morning when players got here, and you could kind of feel the excitement. They were excited about playing this game and getting out on the field, and so there was really, you know, guys were saying and doing the right things, and then to come away with the victory is just makes it better.
Last night, what message did you send? And then in the locker room today, what did you say?
That's why it's private. Come on. No, I mean, it's just, listen, we get together and spend about 5 minutes or so, you know, at the hotel after meetings, and I basically just wanted them to understand that, you know, they got to continue to trust the process. They got to continue to believe, and quite frankly, you know, you can't wait for something to happen and then believe it. You know, you have to believe it first, and then it happens. And that's kind of the message last night. And I didn't talk about, you know, hey, this is a must win. This is you know, the start of our playoffs. I didn't get any of that kind of stuff. I just wanted to make sure that they understood that we just continue to trust the process, one play at a time, play together, great communication. You know, we can get this thing flipped, and they did that.
How about in there?
Just reiterated the same point, quite frankly. A lot of excited faces in there. Guys are, you know, just how resilient they are, how they stuck together. Proud of all three phases, because everybody had a hand in this win today.
Hey, Doug, real quick on Golden, obviously he made a great 50-50 catch in the middle of the field, but he also had a drop and that little punt return hiccup. Do you think he's pressing a little bit at all to try to get involved?
No.
All right, there's head coach Doug Pederson addressing the media after the win, and it was very interesting as he talked about the Saturday night team meeting where he didn't go into the platitudes of this is a must-win, this is the start of the playoff season. He just wanted the team to basically show that the work that they're doing during the week would carry over into Sunday. And that's really important, especially coming off this week, because it was an emotional one in the locker room, as you have leaders like Malcolm Jenkins, questioning the effort of the players in the locker room. And when the season starts to go south, and Ike, you've experienced this in your career, things go one of two ways. Guys can rally and rise to the occasion and say, all right, that's not who we are. What you've seen on tape in the past is not what the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be in 2018. That's not how we're going to be remembered. Or it could have a snowball effect, and everything could really just fall out from the bottom. And at the beginning of the game, we thought that might have been the case when they were down 19-3, but this team fought and rallied its way to get the victory, and showing that there's a lot of pride in that locker room, and they're not going to allow, whether it's injuries or the defeats they've had to this point, kind of put them in a tone or the wrong mindset, and then make them have the right attitude and approach coming into this game on Sunday.
Well, listen, we're not privy to know what's being said in the locker room at halftime, but I can only imagine being around this sport, being in competition, having to go out and do what these guys did today. Somebody said something in that locker room at halftime. This was a completely different team on both sides of the football when they came out in the second half. And I talked earlier about the amount of yardage the Eagles allowed the Giants to get in the first half, setting an NFL record for a half. And then the offense not being able to do a whole lot. They just looked completely different coming out of the locker room. Looked like they believed they had a chance to win this football game. I don't know if they really believed that at the beginning of the football game, and maybe something settled them down, but they came out of the locker room a completely different team. Maybe it was the interception that Malcolm had right before the half to sort of gave the defense a spark, because I thought coming out of the locker room at the half, even though the Eagles were able to move the ball to midfield, the drive stalled and we had to punt. And then it was that series where the defense got a sack. They got a tackle for loss, and they were able to get the ball right back to the Eagles offense, is where I thought the momentum started to change a little bit for this team. So, hey, kudos to whomever was able to rally the troops and say whatever needed to be said, because they came out in the second half looking like a different team, led by that defense. Malcolm talked about how well that defensive line played and led the charge. Well, we knew if this secondary, particularly, were going to have any chance of slowing down this Giants offense, it was going to have to start up front. And that's what you saw in the second half. Michael Bennett, Chris Long, guys flying everywhere around Eli Manning. And we've seen Eli enough throughout his career to know that you hit him a few times, and he's going to start dropping like a sack of potatoes anytime he gets the opposite color around him. And I thought that's what you saw in the second half. You saw a different Eli Manning because he had pressure on him. He started getting hit in the second half, and it started with those guys up front.
So in your mind, what was the turning point in this game?
I think the ability to stop the Giants from scoring right before the half. Malcolm Jenkins getting that interception, I thought it was huge. The Eagles had just gained a little momentum, pulled within one score. It's 19-11. A little bit too much time left on the clock. Giants able to get down the field relatively easy and get in position to put points on the board. You almost assumed to give them 3 as opposed to giving them a touchdown there. I mean, I know that's what I was saying at that point. And then Eli throws the ball up. Malcolm makes a great play there. I think stopping them from getting points right there gave the Eagles defense a little bit of confidence. It certainly kept points off the board, because if it's 22-11 going into halftime, who knows what the demeanor is in the locker room after scoring a touchdown and then having the Giants go back down the field in less than a minute and get points on the board. It was so eerily similar to what the Cowboys did a few weeks ago on Sunday night, where they were able to score right before the half when they should not have. And I thought the Cowboys carried all the momentum in to the locker room at halftime. Eagles get that interception. I thought that was huge.
It's funny because the Giants have done such a good job of protecting Eli Manning from himself. In the last couple of weeks, the 2-game win streak, Eli had 5 touchdowns to no interceptions, and the offensive line did a great job of protecting him. They were obviously focusing more on the run game. You saw more heavy personnel, 12 personnel packages in there to kind of protect Manning there. Well, it was such an ill-advised throw from a veteran. This isn't, a rookie or first, second-year quarterback. This is, Eli Manning, who's won a couple of Super Bowls. So to force that pass in that situation when you're pretty much guaranteed 3, especially with the way Rosas, their kicker, was nailing field goals throughout the course of the day, you figured you'd be set right there. So speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about the victorious one. Let's send it back to the link where Carson Wentz is standing by.
Consider what a loss might have meant, and now with a win next week with the Redskins, how much of a swing game was this?
Yeah, this is a big game for us, obviously, in terms of divisional standings, all that fun stuff, but really mentally, to show the resilience that we did, to get down early the way we did and then battle back, and just kind of builds a lot of confidence for really all 3 phases of this game, and to come from behind and get it done today, I think that'll speak volumes about our confidence going forward.
You guys weren't able to get it done late in games earlier this year. You got to win now with less than 4 minutes to go. What was the difference?
We just executed. I think in all those other past games, it just came down to a play or 2 here or there, and we didn't execute. And today we got it done. It didn't take anything, extra from us. We just had to dial it in and execute, and we got it done.
Fourth and 2 conversion throw to Nelson. What was that play design? Was it scheme to go towards him?
It was just a progression read, and he was the next in the progression, and they went zone coverage, and they kind of just parted there in the middle, and he came up with arguably the biggest catch of the day.
That next step for this offense, maybe the most important one, is just getting that first quarter, those first few series figured out?
Absolutely. I thought we came out and we actually were moving the ball okay, and then we had the penalty the first drive, and then the second drive we had the penalty too, and both those, just execution, we got to be better. We kind of made some mistakes early in that area, and we knew what we were capable of. We knew we could move the ball, but yeah, we started slow, and we got to be better with that.
How big was it on those last 2 drives that you guys were so balanced, ran the ball really well?
I think that's huge for us. We always come into every game wanting to be balanced, and I think the O-line plays best when we are. I think it gives those guys confidence, and they're coming off the ball firing, and then in the passing game it kind of lightens the pass rush a little bit too, and the O-line loves when we mix it up like that, movements, nakeds, all those things. I thought we did a really good job of that today.
What about the way Josh Adams ran the ball? He had 22 carries, got a lot of key, yards for you guys.
Yeah, that was big. It was big for us. Josh did a great job. He's done a great job in everything we've asked him to do this year. Today he got a little extra workload, and he did a great job and took it and ran with it. And, at the same time, the O-line did a great job. We could lean on them, and they made some nice holes, and Josh finished some runs really well, and we got it done.
On this 4th down to Nelson, Doug was talking about that mesh concept in such a big spot. What do you like about that in that spot?
Yeah, it's good against kind of all coverages. We call it an all coverage beater, and just a pure progression play, and it's also one we've got a lot of reps at. We've repped it all off season and something like that. So you just kind of keep it simple in those situations, and we executed it well.
Other players said that keeping things simple and doing the things that you do well was important this week. Is that fair to say, and is that play an example of it?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Sometimes when you're in a slump, especially offensively, you want to try and scheme up things too much, and you're trying to be too perfect, and sometimes it gets guys to play slower and this and that, and I thought we did a good job this week of just trying to keep it simple and just letting us play ball and doing things that we've done really all off season, and I thought that helped us a ton today.
How much does the running game help you as a quarterback when you're running the the ball that effectively.
They always say the running game's the best friend of the quarterback, and that was 100% true today. We could lean on them, that big drive to put us up late in the fourth. The first time, that was did I even throw the ball? I think we just had a screen. Other than that, it was all handoffs, and that was huge to just lean on those guys, and they did a great job.
Nelson hadn't caught a ball since the Dallas game until that fourth down, hadn't been targeted. What does it say about him that, when his number was dialed up, he was ready?
Yeah, he's ready to go. He's always ready to go, and we love Nelly, and we love what he brings to the table, and, I didn't even realize he hadn't specifically gotten a target till late in today, and it's just the way it's been playing out, but there he was, and he made it, like I said, arguably the biggest play of the day.
You spoke Wednesday about the need for urgency. What was it like this week leading up to the game? In the locker room afterwards, what was it like?
Yeah, I mean, the locker room afterwards was great. You know, it felt like it'd been a while since we had that feeling again. And guys, like I said at the beginning of this, you know, I think that's huge for our confidence. It's huge for our confidence to not just win, but to win in the way we did, rallying back. And, you know, I thought, you know, hats off to our defense. They settled in, you know, tremendously and played an amazing second half, gave us a chance to win the way we did. And I think that just will build our confidence going forward.
Play, the sack low, or your leg, you came up limping.
Yeah,
what happened?
We're good. We're good. I mean, the guy ran into my leg and kind of spooked me a little bit, but yeah, we're good.
What does the team like you're down 19-3?
Yeah, I didn't see anyone, you know, kind of pointing fingers or questioning or anything like that. You know, I thought everyone just kind of believed, and you know, offense went right back out there and put a good drive together. And so I thought that was huge for us going into the second half. And, you know, guys just stayed together. You know, that's the biggest thing. We always talk about family around here, and guys just hung together and believed in each other, and we got it done.
Is there anything more satisfying, you talked about the win, than winning, than a game-winning drive, a fourth-quarter comeback?
Right now I'm just thrilled we got a win. You know, obviously doing it from behind, you never want to be down, but coming back the way we did, again, it's huge for our confidence, offensively, defensively, the way they kind of, you know, stiffened up at the end, and yeah, it was big for us.
Doug was saying he had a good feeling about where everyone's head was at Saturday night at the meetings at the hotel. What was his message the night before the game?
Yeah, I mean, his message is, you know, I think more than anything was just to keep it simple. You know, keep it simple and just do what we do best and play our game. And, you know, again, we started off sluggish, and that's something we got to fix. But, you know, after that, I thought everyone just kept it simple. You know, dialed in on their assignments and executed well, and that's, I think, what led to the victory.
Carson, how important was it for you guys to answer with a touchdown after Saquon Barkley's 51-yard run?
Yeah, I mean, just the way we answered in the first half offensively, I thought was big for us to just come in and I think, was that in the first half? Yeah. So just the way we answered in the first half, just to go into the locker room with a little momentum, and then Malcolm had the interception, which kept them off the board there. To just kind of use that momentum going into the second half, that was huge for us.
You said nothing changed for you this week. Was it important for you, though, to rebound from last week's performance?
I mean, absolutely. You know, I think it's important for everybody to just come out and rebound and just put last week behind us, and I think we did that today, and that was good to see.
You know, quarterbacks a lot of times are judged wins or losses, and also by late game drives. I mean, is this an important one for you personally?
Yeah, I mean, you know, anytime we can get a victory and a come from behind, you know, fashion, it speaks volumes about the team and the resiliency of the guys on both sides of the ball. And I know personally that it was big to get it done today for me, and you know, everyone feels the same.
Last year against the Giants, you said you'd give Jake Elliott your paycheck if you hit the field goal.
Yeah.
Anything like that?
I still got my paycheck today.
It looked like Dallas kind of messed up on a blitz that led to a sack on you, and then you came back and connected with him down the field in that one-handed catch.
Yeah.
How big is it that some of these rookies are kind of taking the next play and forgetting the one before that and just excelling in that?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we talk about all the time is you make a mistake, just press forward. And first of all, the protection, that was tough. You know, that was really tough the way they ran that game. And I'm not sure anyone could pass that off. They had the perfect play call on against that. But just Dallas and really on defense, a lot of the guys, whether they're rookies, young guys, inexperienced, guys just stepping up and just building confidence throughout this season, throughout this game even. And, you know, that's big for us going forward, especially with all the injury shakeup and all the things that are super unfortunate that we're dealing with. That's big for us.
Did you check to a run on the Adams TD that was brought back? He thought that you did.
Coach called that one. Thanks, Ed.
All right, Carson Wentz gets that comfort behind win in the fourth quarter, and we all know how good a quarterback Carson Wentz is. I don't think anyone was worried about whether or not Wentz is
some
a clutch
people out there must have forgotten.
I'm sure, yes.
But some people got short memories around.
Certainly, you know, when you're leading the team to 12-2 before getting injured last season. But nonetheless, Carson Wentz gets the big win. Eagles get to 5-6. And I like when he was asked about what the message was from Doug to the team on Saturday night, and it was keep it simple. And it makes me think of both of the wins over the Giants this season, because you go back to Week 6 when the Eagles had their best offensive output of the season, 34-13 back then, and it was coming off a short turnaround. It was a short week. It was a Thursday night game. So when coaches put in the game plan for those types of performances, you have to shorten things down a little. You only have so much time. It's more mental preparation than physical because you're still trying to get your body right from the week before. So to keep it simple makes me think that you almost go back to that and say, let's do what works best for us. Okay, let's get back to the basics. And you saw a lot of that with the run game, and you saw just, again, a lot of the same concepts that the Eagles were successful with a year ago, and also incorporating a number of key role players. Obviously, Zach Ertz had another big game, but again, getting Alshon and Dallas Goedert involved in ways, Golden Tate as well, to help open things up for the offense. So defenses can't just key in on 86 or number 17 Alshon.
Yeah, I would say the key for the players is, man, just trust what the coaches are coaching you to do, especially on that offensive side of the ball. On defense, it's a little different because you have so many players injured. You have so many new faces over there. It makes it difficult for Jim Schwartz to really put together a game plan that has any type of, I guess, variation to it because the guys just don't know the system well enough to go deep into his playbook. So Jim Schwartz is kind of handcuffed. On the offensive side of the ball, though, you pretty much have everybody there that's been there, particularly your key components. And so just get back to doing the small things that you've done that have allowed you to be successful. Don't feel the pressure, not just Carson, but the rest of these guys. Don't feel the pressure to have to be the one that makes the play. Just understand that when your opportunity is called, just do your job. And trust, more importantly, trust that those other 10 guys are going to do their job. Don't worry about you having to fill or cover for someone else or make a play because you're shorthanded here. Just do what you're being coached up to do and allow the system to work for you. Because I think that's what's happened with the players, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They know the success they had last year, and they're all pressing. It's not just the quarterback. Everyone feels the need to have to be the one to sort of get the spark or light the spark to get the offense rolling the way it was last year. But it's going to take time. It's going to take time, and you can do it if you build off of it step by step. But it starts with number 11. It starts with him. He's going to set the tone for everyone else. They'll follow his lead. If he doesn't feel like he needs to make every play every time there's a passing play called, then the rest of the guys eventually, they'll follow his lead. And I thought he played that way today. Yes. I didn't see many forced throws. I didn't see him trying to do anything that was out of the realm of his capability. And I thought the offense eventually started to click.
Number 11 set the tone on offense. I thought number 27, Malcolm Jenkins, set it on the defense side of the ball. And again, from a culture standpoint, having so many young defensive backs there playing for you on the field, Rasul Douglas battling through injuries was very limited. So it was pretty much Chandon Sullivan, who himself was injured in the second half, Cravon LeBlanc, and Devontae Bosby. So when those guys are coming to the sideline, Avonte Maddox, although he's a rookie, has more playing experience, Jalen Mills, those guys are trying to coach up the young guys because they know the situation that those guys are under. Your season's on the line, and you're relying on guys who were on the practice squad or not on the roster a couple of weeks ago and say, we're going up against Eli Manning and Odell Beckham and all the weapons that the Giants have. It's a tough task. Don't make it any tougher by adding the pressure onto them. Try to help them out in the process. And to find out more about what the process was like to get ready for the game today, let's go to our one-on-one interview. Hall of Fame wide receiver Mike Quick chatting with head coach Doug Pederson shortly after his press conference a few moments ago.
First of all, Coach, congratulations. The Giants were able to score on their first 3 possessions, and then the defense they really came alive after that. What was the difference?
I think that the big difference was our defensive line began to put a little pressure on Eli in the passing game. They were able to stop, a tremendous running back in Saquon and Galladay, and really, I think our young DBs in the back end just settled into the game and really relaxed and played well, and quite frankly, just found the rhythm that they needed.
How much are you handicapped when you have such a young, inexperienced secondary?
Well, the issue comes if somebody goes down. You don't have backups anymore. You're limited there. So you're playing with young players that really don't have any backup players to go on the field. So that's the limitation. But the biggest thing is just the nerves early in football games, communication, making sure they just trust their fundamentals, trust their technique, their coaching, and just try to eliminate as many distractions as possible.
Carson Wentz admitted last week that he didn't have a good game. Talk about his performance today.
I thought he did some really nice things today.
really managed our run game. It was one of the things we went into this game. We had some things in our run game that he had to handle, and he did a nice job there. Made some really, really nice throws down the field. You know, so some big we weren't great on third down, but some of the third downs that he converted, they were there. And then the fourth down. I think the fourth down at the end of the game to find Nelly over the ball is one of the biggest throws he's made.
How confident do you have to be when you make that call on 4th and 1?
Well, you have to be 100% sure that that's the call you want as a play caller. Number two, you just trust your players. I mean, it's a play we've repped 1,000 times here, and they know exactly where to be. Quarterback knows exactly, the coverage and what it's designed for, and well executed.
Brandon Brooks, the latter part of the game when you guys are driving, he's turning. He's turning to you after the play and trying to motion for you to continue to run the ball. How much input do you take when your guys on the field do that?
Yeah, I listened to those guys. I mean, they were rolling, and it's exciting when it was at the 2-minute warning at the end of the game there in the fourth quarter, and Brandon just nonchalantly just walks over to me and says, "Coach, keep running the football." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Don't worry, big fella. We're going to run the ball here." So it just gives them a lot of confidence, and they played really well today, and as a group. And I'm excited to watch this tape and just see how well they played.
It's one of those games where you ran the ball actually more than you threw the ball. It was 29 runs, 28 passes. How important was that for today's win?
Listen, I think anybody would tell you that's probably a good formula. You're going to win a lot of football games, especially if you're running it successfully, and so it just takes so much pressure off your quarterback. It just allows him to play free and see the field, and it sparks your offense too. When those guys are churning 5, 6, 10, 15, 20-yard runs. I mean, it's an exciting thing for everybody on your team.
Thanks, Coach. Enjoy the win.
Thanks, Quick.
We are all enjoying the win. Certainly that's the case. Great interview as always from Mike Quick there with head coach Doug Pederson. And he talked about the winning at the line of scrimmage with the offensive line. And he also touched a little on the defensive line, but I don't think we've given them enough credit for the performance today, especially a guy like Tim Jernigan, who hadn't played all season long and was not just active for today's game after missing the first 10 games after undergoing off-season surgery. He started and was very active and was very much involved throughout the course of the game. Michael Bennett also battling back from a foot injury in the first half, having a sack. He had a tackle helped set up a tackle for loss, helped set up a Chris Long sack in the second half. Those guys up front really took the game over, making sure there was dominance on both sides of the line of scrimmage there.
They really did, and that really was the difference in the football game when you look at the second half. The run game in the second half picked up tremendously for the Eagles on the offensive side of the ball, and then when you look at what the defense was able to do, I thought that was the biggest difference in the second half. Eli Manning wasn't comfortable. Only 56 yards for this Giants offense total in the second half, and it started with those guys up front, whether it was getting after Eli Manning in the passing game or trying to slow down that running game of Saquon Barkley or Wayne Gollum. So I thought the defensive line and the offensive line set the tone for the team in the second half. The offense certainly generated more production in the second half with the line playing better, and I thought the defense, after giving up 340 yards of total offense in that first half, to hold the Giants to only 56 total yards in the second half, that's big time. And it started up front.
The offense and the defense getting the team in position. And, of course, Jake Elliott once again beating the Giants late. He talked with our Eagles insider Dave Spadaro after the win.
On the field with place kicker Jake Elliott. For 2 straight seasons, Jake Elliott has beaten the Giants with a kick at the end of the game. Jake, did it run through your mind at all last year?
Not a whole lot. I just realized we were going the exact same way as we were last year when we played them. So that was a little deja vu. But other than that, the offense did a heck of a job getting down there and giving me a good shot.
How were the weather conditions? Tell me about the kick.
That was definitely the tougher way to kick today. It's tough to kick here in Philly, but luckily we got the job done.
Jake Elliott, nerves of steel. Big kick once again to beat the New York Giants today.
Kick? That's the thing when you think about it. Last year, making his introduction to Eagles fans with that 61-yarder, the franchise record. Then you go to the kicks in the Super Bowl, the longest by a rookie in postseason history, Super Bowl history, to get the Eagles the cushion, the 8-point cushion, so they could go after Tom Brady on that final drive. And here, the Eagles' season on the line, Elliott coming through once again. So Great stuff from on the field and also in the booth. The Hall of Fame duo of Merrill Reese and Mike Quick at their absolute best. They've been waiting for a game like this, okay? Obviously, they've been waiting for a win, but just a tight ball game here. So they let it all out there. Let's re-experience some of the key moments from today's win through the sounds of Merrill Cam.
Well, the field goal unit comes on. They need some points.
You know, maybe there are previous plays where the outside crashed down on the dive, but this time they were in contain and no way he was going to get to the outside.
42-yard attempt. Ball is spotted. The kick is away, and the kick is good, and the Eagles are on the board. Adams stays in. Slot to the far side of the field. Jeffrey to the near side. Motion to the near side, and Tate. Wentz goes back. He's looking. He is firing. It is complete. Breaking a tackle is Ertz, and he's in for the touchdown. Ertz caught it at the 3, broke a tackle, and went into the end zone.
Did you say Ertz broke a tackle?
Yep.
Great job. And Carson Wentz throws this ball to where it's pulling Ertz into the end zone. He does break that tackle and forces his way between two defenders in for a touchdown.
Wentz with Clement to his right. Here it is. Wentz takes it, pitches out to Clement. He's in.
Little option. I like that. So Carson takes the ball. He goes down the line of scrimmage, down the right side, but he's got trailing him Corey Clement. A little option play. He just flicks the toss to Corey Clement. As he gets to the outside, he gets a great block on the edge by Zach Ertz, and he's in for the 2 points.
So it's a one-possession game.
It's a one-possession game. It's a football game now.
Manning once again in the gun with Barkley to his left. Slot to either side. Manning calling for the football. He's back. He steps up, firing for the end zone. Intercepted! Intercepted! Jenkins intercepted! He's across the 20. He's across the 25. Intercepted!
Finally. This is a really good job defensively. They play a 2-deep zone this time, and Malcolm Jenkins ends up going down the hole. When he recognizes it's Odell Beckham that he's trying to go to, he hightails, gets to the football, and takes it back the other way to shut down this Giants offense.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Eagles have an interception. It is 2nd down and 8. Manning fakes. He's back. He's looking. He is hit. They've sacked him back at the 2.
There it is.
Michael Bennett.
Listen, that's the play you've been asking for. Michael Bennett back in the lineup, comes back out the second half. He's healthy to play. They break down the wall in front of Eli Manning. He holds on to it, and they're able to get a sack on the twist.
So it is field goal attempt time from the 18. 28-yard attempt. Ball is spotted. The kick is up. And the kick is good.
I love how Mike can't sit still throughout the course of the game. He's pretty much like every fan that's in the stands. Merrill's able to do his job professionally, just sit there, call the action. Mike is up and down all over the place. So, of course, you're probably wondering, what about the game-winning kick, all the action from the fourth quarter? We're going to save that for you for tomorrow as we unveil the complete version of Merrill Cam here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com and the app at 8 a.m. And speaking of us here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com and the app, if you want to continue watching the postgame show presented by Ricoh, that's the only place to do it. We have to cut our social media feed, so we're going to give you all a few minutes to come on over, and there's plenty still to come as we're going to have film breakdown and discuss the Toyota Player of the Week nominees. So again, if you are watching us right now on Facebook or Twitter, you need to come on over to PhiladelphiaEagles.com or the app to watch the rest of the show. We'll see you in a few minutes.